Wait, are we gonna get it? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a monthly wrap-up. I am going to be talking with you guys about all the books that I read in the month of May. But yeah, I'm really excited to chat with you guys about these books. And if you've read any of them, let me know. So feel free to share as well. The first book that I read in the month of May is Simone Breaks All the Rules by Debbie Rigaud. This book was honestly such a delight to read. It is about a girl named Simone who grew up in a Haitian immigrant family. Her parents have always sheltered her, and it is tradition that when her prom rolls around, her mom will go to a respectable family and will have like a one-on-one with their mom and say, my daughter needs a chaperone, or like not a chaperone, but she needs a date, and your boy has been so well behaved and so well raised, and I would love for him to accompany her. And then it's this whole thing. So that's what happens. That's what happened with her sister, and that's what's going to happen with Simone. At the same time, she is completing a report on teenage freedom fighters, or just like teenage freedom heroes, I think. I might be mixing up terms, but basically teen heroes who were fighting for freedom. And in some way, she's resonating with their message to promote an ideal that they stand by. She decides that she's going to take her senior year into her own hands. So she gets a little coalition of friends, people who also have very sheltered homes, very strict parents, and they devise what they call the list or the playlist. I actually don't remember what they call it, to be honest, but they come up with a list, and it's all the things that they're gonna do in their senior year, and it's basically them breaking all the rules. This was really fun. It was really sweet, and it was very relatable in some instances. I gave this a total of 4 stars. It was a really short read, so if you're looking for something sweet, light, and just enjoyable for the summer, I would highly recommend Simone Breaks All the Rules. The next book I read was a bit more of a disappointment, I'm not gonna lie. This is the only book I read this month that I disliked and did not enjoy disliking. There are 2 types of books that you hate. There's the ones you love to hate and the ones you hate to hate. You just hate them. This was the latter, and that is The Sword and the Dagger by Robert Cochran. I'm gonna be honest, I did not finish this book because I did not like it. I went to Goodreads, and honestly, the reviews were pretty awful. People kind of confirmed my suspicions, but I'll get to that in a second. This book is about a princess, a knight, and an assassin. But they are brought together by their respective roles and their duties. They end up joining together to save their empire from some attack. I honestly don't know, and frankly, I do not care. Also, the characters were incredibly one-dimensional. They had no development whatsoever, and apparently that development was just never going to come. I just did not like this book. I actually gave it 1 star. I can't say I would recommend this to anybody, but do what you will with the story's premise. So the next books that I read are Killing November and Hunting November. Oh, this is by Adriana Mather, and it is about, I'm gonna be reading my notes because I wrote a lot of notes on this book. But this is about a girl named November, and she is sent to an elite boarding school that is completely off the grid. When she arrives, it's a very medieval castle-like institution with no running water, no electricity, and a very peculiar curriculum. Where most students go to math class, she finds herself in knife throwing, archery, deception, and poison making. So very, very different than your usual high school. And what she starts to discover is that this is some kind of elite training school for kids from very specific kinds of family. And she realizes that she's been thrust into a world that she didn't even know existed, and starts kind of questioning why her father sent her here. Now, her father also, claimed to have sent her here because he had something that he needed to do and she needed to be protected. And at the school, they have a very peculiar way of dealing with problems, and that is with an eye for an eye kind of punishment system. So if someone punches you, you get to punch them. You kill someone, well, you're next. And when a student is mysteriously murdered and November has a sketchy alibi, she realizes that she could be on the list for suspects, and thus meaning that she could potentially end up dead, because so did the student. And that's kind of how the system works. So she takes to this investigation and she starts piecing things together to figure out who the murderer actually is and save herself from being on the other end of this eye for an eye punishment system. So that's kind of what goes on in Killing November. I really, really love this book. If you love dark academia, linguistics, deception, you will probably really like this. I gave this 4 stars, and I also gave this 4 stars. But after surviving a few weeks at the world's most lethal boarding school, November finds herself back in the real world, but she is on a mission this time. She has to infiltrate enemy territory because she's on a bit of a scavenger hunt. Unfortunately, she's not looking for candy or gold. She's looking for a person, somebody who is now on the scariest assassin's hit list, and she has to find them. They kind of are going around Europe, piecing together clues that have been left behind, trying to hunt down a specific person in particular, who I cannot mention without giving too much away. The next book that I read is called The Year After You by Nina DePass, and I actually did a reading vlog on this. So if you want to get my emotional response and more details on how I felt about this book, I would recommend you check that out. I think I also read Hunting November in that reading vlog, so you can check that out. So The Year After You follows Kara, who has been devastated by a car accident that resulted in her best friend being killed. She feels solely responsible for the accident and everything that went on that night. And as a result has kind of been falling into a depression. And as a last resort, her mother sends her away to a Swiss boarding school called Hope. There she meets people who are not willing to let her sink into herself. They're not willing to let her drown. And at every step of the way, they're there to support her and to bring her out of her shell. But when you are also drowning, how much can you really save another person? They're just such complex individual people. I honestly love Hector so much. He's such a tangible character. I gave this 4 stars as well because, again, I really loved it, and I would highly recommend. The next book that I read in the month of May is Court by Tracy Wolff. You guys will know that I've just been on this Crave series train for so long at this point. I'm a committed and dedicated fan, and I had to pick this up sooner rather than later. This is the 4th installation in the Crave series and the final official book, although there are 2 other books coming out that are a little more, I think, of a kind of, I don't know what they're called, you know, the in-between books, they're not novellas because one of them is 800 pages. That is not a novella, but they're the 0.5. This story follows Grace Foster, and it starts right after the students of Katmere are kind of dealing with the loss from a very lethal and just awful battle that just took place at the end of, what was the last book? At the end of Covet, I believe. Yes. But with only so much time to recover before the actual big battle, the war, because when they get back to the school, y'all, it's a mess. They realize that they have been duped, that things were not going as they thought they were going, and lives have been lost. There's just so much to deal with, and at the same time, not enough time to deal with everything. Grace and her friends, or what's left of them, I should not laugh. It's actually really traumatic how many people end up dead in this book. Tracy Wolff just killing people left, right, and center it does not matter. In the final installation, they basically are confronted with the fact that they need to face off with Cyrus and all his loyal subjects, all the other people from different species and courts that support him. But you know, it's difficult because he is Cyrus. He is the vampire king. He does have the support of, I think, was it the witch court? Okay, I shouldn't say he has the support of these people, but he is. So they're kind of we have to support this man or he's gonna kill our children. Wait, I hope I didn't give anything away. Anywho, I think I've mentioned this before. This is an acquired taste. The writing style is an acquired taste. So for anyone who messages me saying the writing of this book is not good, I warned you, I told you, taste acquired. I gave this a total of 4 stars because literally everything this month has just been 4-star ratings, and if not, it's probably in the 1-star category, which that's tough. Okay, the next book that I read is a Fallen novel, or it's from the series Fallen, whatever, by Lauren Kate. And why? Like, why is this book existing? Who told me to read this? If I knew that this was an angel fantasy, I would never have picked it up because I absolutely detest angel fantasy. It's the same way I feel about aliens or space books. I just don't, I refuse. This is about Lucy Price, who is sent to Swords and Cross. It's a reform school for lost children, and after a fatal incident, Lucy is sent here. But on her first day, she meets this guy, or like she doesn't meet him, but she sees him and is instantly drawn to him, like this kind of love at first sight. And his name is Daniel Gregory, and she wants to know every single detail about him. So you know what she does? She invades his privacy and goes through all of his files, okay, like a stalker, and finds out nothing because there's literally no information on this man. Why? Because he is an angel. He's literally been existing for who knows how long. The writing was like mediocre, like it wasn't bad writing per se, it wasn't great. But honestly, my issue was with the premise and also Lucy's character, who was absolutely insane, just stepping over her bounds again and again. And I know maybe I'm being a little hypocritical because I can hear my friends saying, but what about Edward Cullen, who, you know, snuck into Bella's room? It was different, okay? I don't know how, but it was. I don't know. I gave this 1.5 because I didn't hate it while I was reading it. It's just, I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. And then when I found out it was an angel fantasy, I dropped from like maybe a 2.5 to a 1.5. So, Fallen by Lauren Kate. The next book I read, I also filmed a reading vlog for, so if you are curious to know more of my thoughts and if you want to hear some of the quotes from the book, you should check out my reading vlog. The episode of Falling Down follows Clementine, who is the lone survivor of a plane crash. When she wakes up in the hospital, she has no recollection of who she is beyond what the doctors have told her, which is that her name is Clementine and that she is from Cleveland, Ohio, and that she is a lone survivor of a plane crash. So that means that she doesn't know why she was on that plane, why she's currently in Ireland, and well, like anything else, because she doesn't remember anything. She has what they call retrograde amnesia. And when her dad arrives at the hospital to come and get her, she suddenly has a mental breakdown and decides that she cannot face him yet because she doesn't know anything about him and kind of feels like she's letting him down in a sense. So she basically runs away from the hospital with the help of a guy named Kieran, who she meets in the courtyard, and he helps her escape, takes her to his town, Waterville, small, remote, cute, and Irish. It is a coastal town. You can hear the waves crashing, everything that I personally desire. When she's run away, she kind of assumes this new identity, so like nobody technically knows that she's Clementine, also because her picture hasn't been released yet. So she is going around as Jane, and to Kieran, Bunny, which is really cute actually. Kind of an endearing nickname based on some events that take place. But she starts building her life in this town. Like she's there for like a decent amount of time. It really is kind of a dream to piece her life back together the way she wants to live it, knowing that she's probably not going to remember anything about who Clementine was. So why bother to live her life when she can live Jane's life, which is her like new identity that she has assumed. But how long can you live a lie before it starts to catch up to you? Not very long. So eventually things are going to have to come to an end, but she's gonna have to confront that when the time comes. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's a romance. It's very cute. It's very short. I would recommend it to anybody because this is one of my favorite Rebecca Cranes. I gave that 5 stars. The very last book that I read this month was Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia. It was honestly time that I read this book because it's also been sitting on my shelves since I started getting back into reading when quarantine first hit, I think is when I ordered this. So our main character, Ethan Waite, lives in a small town in the southern part of America. It's called Gatlin. Very reclusive, very kind of, you're either in or you're out. They don't like outsiders. They don't like people who don't fit into their mold. Very narrow, closed-minded people. This is the town that Ethan lives in, and he wants to get away. He wants to leave this town, okay? That's something about Ethan. And then a new girl shows up, and her name is Lena Duquesne, and she is the niece of the town recluse and like hermit, I guess you could call him, because he literally like never leaves his house. Like up until Lena came, Ethan never saw this man. Like he had never seen him. This man had been locked away for like 20 years. That's crazy to me. Imagine being in your house for 20 years. I mean, it is like a manor. Like it's a beautiful castle, medieval, vintage manor. But the aesthetic changes when it wants to. So yeah, Lena is the niece of Macon Ravenwood, and so she's automatically hated because oh my gosh, I'm literally not saying anything correctly. Macon Ravenwood, her uncle, because he's like kind of a town stowaway, like he's very hidden, very to himself, people don't like him, even though most probably haven't met him, and so they don't like his niece. Automatically she's like hated. But when she gets really angry and emotional, things start happening around her, like glass in the window breaks, the wind picks up. Yeah, Ethan's very drawn to her, and he also realizes that she is the girl from his dreams, and not like, oh my gosh, you're my dream girl, but like, no, you're the girl from my like nightmares. Like you are the one that I'm holding on to, that I seem to be absolutely in love with. Crazy stuff. How did you show up here? How are you absolutely real? And why can I also hear you in my head? So that's kind of some of the stuff going on. And when the two of them find a locket and get taken back into the past in a vision, they realize that there is something between them that goes beyond just like a tiny crush. There is secrets that are hidden in graveyards, secret libraries, and many other obscure things in this town, and they're gonna find them out. They're gonna find out these secrets. It takes a whole 560 plus pages to do so, but they start figuring things out. Yeah, anyways, I gave that book 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. I did. And I'm going to be reading the second book, and I'm probably going to finish the series at some point. It was very like, did we really need 560 pages to do all that? I don't know. Also, my favorite character died. And I'm not going to say who my favorite character is, because I don't want to spoil anything. But they died. Traumatized. I was sitting in the Winners parking lot crying in my mom's car as I was finishing this book. So that's great. But anyways, thanks for watching. This is always my pleasure to chat about books, to share my love of reading with you guys. And if you want more book-related content, you should check out my TikTok, because they hear about all these books much sooner than here on YouTube, because I often make aesthetic videos and talk about books at length that I really enjoy. So yeah, okay, I'm sweating and I need to edit this video. So I'm going to talk to you guys later.